And good Thursday evening, everybody. I'm meteorologist Tim Pandajis, joined off camera by Chief Meteorologist David Paul. We are streaming on all our digital platforms, so if you have any questions about today's weather or what to expect going into tonight and tomorrow, just write it in the dialogue box, in the chat box, in the chat window next to whichever platform you're joining us live from. So let's start things off on live radar because it's been active through a good chunk of the day today, at least the afternoon hours have been, with a narrow slug of moisture that's been slowly dropping its way off to the east-southeast, and as colder air has been slowly pouring in, we've seen this change over from a cold, nasty rain to some sleet pellets and even some instances of some freezing rain. That's where temperatures at the surface are at or below freezing. It's plain old rain, but it's encountering the frozen surface and freezing on contact. We've had a few instances of that, but nothing really widespread. No big-time icing threats out there right now, which is the good news. This is a 2-hour loop for you, so we're still dealing with a lot of it right through the heart of southeast Texas, on the tail end now of it, moving through Houston and building towards Chambers, Galveston, Matagorda, and Brazoria, seeing the tail end of it before it drops offshore later on this evening. Now, we've been looking at reports to see exactly what's falling from the sky, and we've had several freezing rain reports out to the west in Waller in Colorado, and then several sleet reports off to the south, but those were much earlier in the afternoon. Since then, we haven't seen much. We've seen a few reports from drivers saying that they hear some pings of sleet on their windshield, but that's really been about it. So that's when you guys are super helpful with telling us what's going on outside your door. We have a really cool feature on our app called Near Me. You can go outside, open up the app, take a picture, and it'll put you on the map on where exactly you're seeing that from. So we would greatly appreciate that. But all this is mostly very, very light, which is the good news. There's a closer look of all the other freezing rain and sleet reports that we've seen so far today. It's been a far-reaching event moving through most of Texas, and now as it exits off the coast of into the Gulf of Mexico, we'll see the tail end of it. Here's a closer look with the temperature overlay on this. All afternoon, we've been slowly watching these numbers come down, and right now on the I-45 corridor, the Gulf Freeway out towards Galveston, seeing temperatures above freezing for the most part, which is good news. Baytown at 36, but Houston, Southside Houston, is down to 30. West of the city, a different story, but the precipitation has really come to an end. If anything, it's a very, very light mist or some sprinkles that'll freeze on contact out in Belleville, or they're down to 28. 29 at Brenham, Cypress 29, 30 in Katy, 30 in Sugarland and Richmond, so the 99 corridor there is going to be a rough one if you're out there later on this evening. 32 in El Campo, 35 in Angleton. Palacios down to the freezing mark, 34 in Alvin. North of the city, Conroe is now in the upper 20s, 31 at the Woodlands, freezing in Spring, and 30 in Cypress. In and around downtown, where you see this pink shading, where radar is indicating that it's cold enough at the surface, as you can see at 32 or below, for some of the liquid precipitation, rain, to freeze on contact and give us a little bit of some light icing in some of the elevated surfaces there. So right now we are under several different watches and advisories. A winter weather advisory in the purple here that is up until noontime tomorrow. Not for the expectation that we're going to still see the threat for wintry weather. It's going to be the lingering effects of some slick spots on the roadways, because it's going to take us a while to warm above the freezing mark tomorrow.
Hey, Tim, let's take a moment and go back to the radar, and I'm going to give you some of the comments. By the way, Facebook friends, good evening. We're monitoring your comments. So a couple of spots here. Lost power to house, except for thank goodness the heater kitchen is still on. We are seeing a few power outages being reported, but not too many. Shonda says slick spots in the Woodlands. You got a few slick spots there. Light sleet in Conroe. And then I've got a couple of comments that are like this. I'm in the pink area, but I'm not seeing any type of frozen precipitation.
Yeah, so this is a little bit misleading on the radar representation here. The precipitation is so very light, and the air is so very dry, too, that a lot of it's evaporating before it gets to the ground, something we call virga. So a lot of you, even though you're seeing it on radar, and even out to the west, too, you see the purple shading showing up there, a lot of that might not even be reaching the ground. And also at this point, our radar sight is out here, so it's shooting up and picking up stuff that's falling far off the ground before it evaporates, before it reaches the surface.
I think we really have ended up getting lucky today.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we had been just a little bit colder and a little bit heavier precip, this would be a huge, huge problem right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've kind of dodged a bullet. We're not completely done yet, but it looks like we're only going to have some very minor issues. Oh, and real quickly, Sheriff Ed Gonzalez did tweet out icy spot 290 at Bad Key and a little icy spot greenhouse at Rebel Yell Road. And those are all the ice reports I have right now, just the two right there.
Yeah, and thankfully where it's the coldest right now is where the precipitation has really come to an end. Quickly going through the rest of the spots for you, we're dropping temperatures, and a lot of you will wake up to numbers in the 20s tomorrow morning. We haven't talked about wind chills yet. So the winter weather advisory, as I mentioned, is up until noon tomorrow. And then we've got a couple counties, Grimes and Washington to the north, that are on a winter storm warning, and that is up until midnight tonight. Likely all that you've seen so far is all you're going to get. Things are really wrapping up in that area. Then we turn our focus overnight to the really cold temperatures and wind chill values that'll just make it very uncomfortable and in some instances unsafe to be outside. So in the purple shading here is a hard freeze warning, and that's for the potential of air temperatures to drop to around 20 degrees or so. On top of that, we've got winds out of the north that have been gusty today, 25 to 30, and when you get air temperatures that low and a breeze out of the north, or a breeze in any direction for that matter, that makes it feel on exposed skin like it's in the upper single digits and lower teens by early tomorrow morning. So that's why that wind chill advisory is up right through 9 a.m. tomorrow. So here's a look at current temperatures, really starting to see them come back. 27 at College Station, 29 in Columbus, 33 officially at Bush, also in Sugar Land. And here's where we're going. As we fast forward through the overnight, you'll see temperatures by tomorrow morning dropping down into the teens and low to mid-20s, and then taking a while to warm things back above freezing. Not until early tomorrow afternoon. We're going to have a lot of cloud cover in place too, so we can't really expect the sun to warm us up very much. That higher sun angle certainly would help us out, but we're not going to see that much of it tomorrow, so we're only going to get into the upper 30s. On top of that, winds. There's a look at recent wind gusts, 25 to 30 miles per hour, and that knocks it down to feeling like it's already 18 in Brenham, 17 at Conroe, 22 in Sugar Land, 22 out at Bush and Hobby, and these numbers will continue to drop through the overnight as air temperatures go even lower. So here's the forecast. Future track feels like temperatures. The wind chill tomorrow morning at 8:30. Brenham could potentially feel as cold as 9. I want to preface this with this is not a prolonged temperature for that low. It's kind of intermittent. It's going to be with a higher wind gust. When you get it down to 9 degrees, it'll feel like that briefly, and then the wind dies down and it won't feel that cold anymore. But nonetheless, those are some pretty low numbers, and it won't feel very nice to be outside at all tomorrow morning or even into the afternoon. And what a difference a day makes, right? 24 hours ago at 5 p.m. at least, it was 71. And then today at 5 p.m. at Bush, it was 34. So we went from 6 degrees above the average, which this time of the year is like 65.
We try to have all 4 seasons
in
all
4
week,
seasons,
if we can.
And then we dropped to 31 degrees below our average high this afternoon. So certainly a change of pace out there. This storm system that brought us the cold and in some cases the wintry weather is huge. It stretches all the way up in the northern interior, the northeast, down into Texas. Bringing a pretty potent snowstorm to like upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, a big ice storm in between, and then a severe threat in places like Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia as we head into the day tomorrow. So really encompassing all sorts of different weather with this one storm system and the clash of these two very different air masses building across the country. I want to take you through the next few hours here on Future Track because what we're seeing on radar now lingering won't be there for much longer. By 9, 10 o'clock, most of it is dissipating and falling off to the southeast. We hang on to the cloud cover overnight tonight, and air temperatures, as you saw, will get quite chilly. Clouds with us tomorrow morning, and we're down in the low 20s.
Hold on, Tim.
Yeah.
T-Roy wants to know when it's going to be safe to snowboard on the bridges and overpasses.
That will never be safe to do.
Not quite enough snow.
Yeah, not yet. Not this time around at least. But it looks like a pretty cold month, so who knows, maybe we'll get another shot at it. But here's Future Track through tomorrow morning, and we're still very, very cold. So tomorrow's forecast overall will be a mostly cloudy one, maybe some partial clearing late in the day. I don't think it'll be enough to warm us up all that much in the upper 30s, maybe low 40s closer to the coastline. And there's your 7-day outlook. Temperatures through the weekend do respond in the upwards direction, but still well below average, or only around 50 on Saturday after another morning in the 20s in many spots. By Sunday, it looks like we drop down in the morning hours to 32 again. So that's 3 mornings in a row. 57 on Sunday, and then we warm things up by the middle of next week to near average for the early part of February, which will be in the mid-60s with a lot of sunshine there as well.
Yeah, I think overall, Tim, you know, we are getting a little lucky. Temperatures weren't quite cold enough, and the precip wasn't quite heavy enough. The precip and the temps didn't quite meet up perfectly to give us a big ice storm, and I'm very grateful for that right now.
And we were looking at the models a couple days ago when the cold air looked like it was going to be a lot more potent, arrive a little sooner, and early on it did start to verify that, and we were getting a little worried, and then it looked to slow down and kind of take on the appearance of some of what the other models were saying.
It's a very tricky business to get the atmosphere to come together just right, especially down this far south in Houston, to get the cold and the rain turning over to sleet and snow just at the right time. Very, very tricky. It's very rare to get it. And this is a good example of how tough it is to get that to happen.
Right, and we were technically forecasting for all levels of the atmosphere for this event, because we had to see where the cold air was going to be in place, what type of precipitation would ensue because of that temperature profile. So it's like exponentially harder for this type of forecast.
I think one of the biggest takeaways is make sure you watch KHOU 11 Morning News tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if we end up with any icy spots where we're just getting refreeze of some water left over on roadways.
Certainly could. Yeah, I mean, the breeze will be out there tonight. That may help to dry things out, but we might have some black ice tomorrow morning, so for sure. But David and I will be on at 10 on the TV side if you want to join us then for an updated forecast. We'll take you through the rest of the weekend and plan things out for when we do get warmer, and also highlight any icy spots that there may be out there as this precipitation winds to an end. And tomorrow morning, KHOU 11 Morning News, Cheetah and Kim will both be here for continuing team coverage on that end, and they'll guide you through that morning commute. Thanks for joining us. We'll monitor the chat window if you have any other questions in the next hour or so. So we'll see you later.